This looks crazy and it looks like I don't have a top on. And it's tilted. Hey friends, drop in the chat where you're from. I'm just trying to figure out why this looks so tilted. Everything looks crazy right now. Woo, happy Friday. I'm just trying to get myself together. I think I might actually put the AC back on because it's really hot. Woo, friends. Hello. Drop your name and where you're from in the chat. Also, holler at me if you're watching Love Island because I am actually obsessed with that show right now. And I kid you not, I think I binged 14 episodes in like 2 days. It was literally insane. Are any of you guys watching that show or is it just me? Because I'm actually obsessed with it right now. Sorry, I'm just getting my notes up and stuff. But anyways, hey friends, hey. Welcome back to That's Real, the live version. I'm your host, Tiff. And this podcast is really all about creating the life you want, not the one you were told to live. And you guys probably saw in the title of this video that I wanted to chat about navigating being single in your 30s. And this came about because when I did my live stream last week, one of you guys asked, I'm going to pull it up. One of you guys said, Tiff, what are your thoughts and advice on navigating singleness in your 30s? Most of the time I'm good, but on some days I be struggling. So let me know if any of you guys can relate to that because like I totally can. And I don't know. Personally, I feel like the older I get, the more I just don't want to deal with the BS and things like that. Like the more I'm just really comfortable with where I'm at in life. At the same time, it can be hard sometimes. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. And I feel like I want to do an actual like sit down recorded podcast on this because on one hand, I'm so grateful that I haven't met my guy yet, honestly. And it's more so because I just feel like I've gone through so many evolutions and I've been molded in so many different ways. And I've learned so much more about myself that I just feel a lot more confident in myself now than I did in my 20s. And not to say it's a bad thing if you meet someone earlier. Like I have friends that met their guy in high school. I have friends that met their guy in college and they're doing great. I just know for me personally, I was dealing with a lot of self-worth stuff when I was younger that makes me feel so grateful that I didn't meet my guy yet, because if I did, honestly, by this point, I'm not sure if we'd still be together. Like I'm not sure if I don't I might have evolved out of that relationship by now just because I've changed so much. And I don't know about you guys, if you guys have experienced this, but I feel like my biggest growth periods have been my biggest growth periods have really been during those times where I've been kind of isolated and have felt a bit alone, because it caused me to really turn inward and listen to my inner voice and really get clear on what is it that I really want. And not gonna lie, like the lonely stages aren't easy. They can be tough because I feel like as humans, we're wired for connection. And when we don't have that, I feel like it can feel like we're so alone and things like that. But if I really, really think about it, I'm so grateful for those times because I feel like it allowed me to just get really clear on what it is I really want. And I don't know if you guys saw, I started posting, and honestly, I didn't even finish it, but I started posting this dating thing that I did in Paris during my trip last year, where it was, can I find Bay in 7 days? Like it was really just meant to be like a funny thing where I was kind of just challenging myself, like, oh, let's see if my man is out here. Like, I mean, I don't know the next time I'm going to be in Paris. And honestly, this is the first year that I didn't plan a Euro trip. Usually every year I go back to Paris. Honestly, since I left in 2022, I've gone back every single year. But this year, I didn't really feel like I had a reason to go. And especially because last year's trip was a little cray. I also did go on a date last year, which I may or may not share about. But I was just kind of feeling like, why not? Let's just have some fun with it. And through that process, I kind of started to pinpoint what the qualities I'm looking for in a person are. And you guys know, like I work with an osteopath who kind of does mind, body, soul healing. And something that she always tells me is don't focus on the things so much, focus on the qualities, focus on the feelings, and that's what brings it closer to you. So that's honestly what I've been trying to focus on over, oh, I really want this person, or oh, whatever. You guys know how I am too. I do think divine timing is everything. And I feel like if I personally were meant to be in a relationship right now, I would be in a relationship right now. Over and above all of that, I do also think that when you're manifesting, when you're trying to figure out, no, I don't want to say it like that. I do honestly think that when you're manifesting or when you're trying to call in what it is that you want into your life, when you do it with a joyful, grateful heart, it amplifies the manifestation versus if you're doing it from a place where you're not happy and you're sad and all of the things. So as hard as it might be, I've really been trying to move towards gratitude for this whole experience because I do think that things work out in ways that we just don't understand. And again, I am so grateful that I am so grateful that I didn't meet my guy earlier because I've gone through so many phases of who I am from my 20s I've gone through so many phases of who I am from my 20s up until now that I'm just not even sure if I'd resonate with that person anymore. I mean, I personally just think about how much my friendships have changed, right? And I'm like, wow, if my friendships have changed so much, imagine what it would have been like if I was in a serious relationship. And this is just me. I don't think this is for everyone. I think that we all evolve in things at our own rates and at our own pace. So I don't that's why I'm like kind of saying take what I'm sharing with a grain of salt. You might resonate with this, you might not at all. That's totally fine. I always say take what you need and what you don't, It's totally cool. But I just, I don't know. I know for me personally, there was a lot that I dealt with men in my 20s that now in my 30s, I would never let fly. Ever, 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 ever. And I do think it was tied to maybe me not being as intentional as I could have been while dating in the past, or also me just not realizing my worth, you know? And anyone who just joined, feel free to drop where you're from. Oh, feel free. Hold on one second. I just got a call. Sorry. But anyone who just joined, welcome, welcome, welcome. Feel free to drop your name and where you're from in the chat. Also, this is meant to be like a live Q&A. I'm going to be talking about navigating being single in your 30s, but feel free to ask me whatever you guys want. I'm here to help. And in case you weren't on earlier, this conversation kind of started from a question a follower asked last week. So that's kind of how all of this came to be. And I was like, you know what? Why not chat about it? And I really do think I want to do like a more like sit down actual podcast of this versus just a live stream, because I feel like I have so many thoughts that I'm honestly just trying to wrap my mind around when it comes to dating and being single and all of the things. Because also something I thought about too, and as I was just kind of like starting to prepare for this, which if I'm being honest with you guys, like I barely prepared. Like I just rolled out of bed, took a shower, put my makeup on, and was like, all right, I'm here. Is that sometimes I really wonder if a big part of the loneliness that we feel when we're single is because society kind of, I don't know, I just feel like society sometimes has this image of, oh, like you'll be happier when you're in a relationship, you'll be more fulfilled, like that's your other half, blah 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 blah, like it's stuff that we've been hearing for years. But what if that's not really the case? You know, like what if it's just kind of like this mental thing that's going on because of like what we see on TV? And the only reason why I say that is because I think of going back to Paris, for example, right? The marketing of Paris is legit insane. Okay. Like the number of movies I see where they mention Paris and it being the dream, the number of TV shows, all of the things. And there's actually something called what's it called? The Paris syndrome. What's it called? The Paris syndrome, where there are a lot of people who come to Paris and realize that it's not this like magical Disneyland place and actually get really sad and down because they imagined it to be something so much bigger because of how it's marketed. So sometimes I'm like, is it the same thing with dating and relationships? You know, like, sure, there are some people who thrive in relationships, but I also feel like there are some people who don't. Look at and I also think that there are some people who, I don't want to say don't, but more so there are some people who are just genuinely happy being single, and I think that that's okay. And sometimes I think that we need more examples of people being single and living their lives happy and feeling fulfilled without the need to have someone outside of them to feel something. And I wonder if that would kind of change our perspective on things. Because I look at Tracy Ellis Ross, for example. And again, obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of how she's feeling every day and whatnot. But from what I've seen and like from clips of her, she seems to be really happy and thriving. You know, she seems to be so fulfilled and fine that, sure, if a man comes, partner comes, it's fine, it's great. But like, it's not like that's the only thing she's living for. So, part of it is, how much has society framed our idea of needing or wanting to be in a relationship versus us genuinely feeling like that's what we want and what we need. What do you guys think about that? I feel like it can't just be me that thinks that way, but it's definitely something that's been on my mind a lot as I just kind of like navigate being single. And I don't know. I also feel the older I get, the less willing I am to deal with the BS, and I feel like it's one of those things where sure you can go on Hinge and maybe get a date with someone, but like is it going to be someone you really like and are super into and want to build with? I mean, I do know that there are a lot of people that have built beautiful relationships from Hinge, but my point more so is if you really wanted to go out and get a date, like I'm sure you could if you really really wanted to, but is that who you really would want to be with, if that makes sense? Is this making sense? Also, please type in the chat if you guys want to. I love when this is interactive, but also like if you don't have anything to say, that's totally fine too. But yeah, and I don't know if any of you guys have been on the dating apps and things like that, but I'm kind of over them. I'm at the point where I'd rather meet my person out versus on a dating app. I've been on the dating apps for, I don't know, I've been on and off of them. I've been on Raya, I've been on Hinge, I've been on Bumble. I've been on the majority of them and I'm kind of just over it. It just doesn't feel for me like how I want to date. And who knows, maybe it's just LA because I will say LA is a different beast. I also feel like for the past few years, have lived in these major cities where people are constantly moving to and moving out of. And I kind of just feel that not that people don't take not that people don't take dating seriously in these cities, because I do think there are people who do, but when I just look at the cities that I've lived in over the past few years, it's New York City, Paris, LA. I feel like there's cities that people sometimes don't always stay forever, if that makes sense. Okay, Vegas too. Part of me is like, I don't know. I kind of feel like it's happening across the board where I can't really speak for men, but I know for women and, my friends and the people who I talk to, we're all kind of experiencing this where we're not really finding the connections that feel right for us. And in turn, we're kind of just not dating because of that. Because I don't know about you guys, but I don't really just want to go on a date just to go on a date. If I'm into someone, sure, I'll go on a date, but I don't really feel the need to waste my time with people that don't necessarily that I'm not necessarily into. And it could be my anxiety or whatever, but I'm also just kind of like, I don't, excuse me, I'm also just kind of like going into it. I just have all of these thoughts like, ugh, I already know I'm not really into this person. If I go on a date, is it going to be leading them on? And then I'm going to have to then on the back end figure out how do I get out of this? Because I only did it because I was bored or whatever. Like those are the thoughts that go through my mind. Like, one, why waste my time? And then also why have to deal with the aftermath of, okay, knew I wasn't going to like it, went on it, didn't like it, and now I'm trying to get myself out of it. You know what I mean? It's just, to me, it's just not worth it. And I'm also at a point with friends too, where it's like, if I don't genuinely want to spend time, I wouldn't say with friends, because with friends, I want to spend time with, but let's say meeting new people in general. I'm also just at a point where I'd rather be at home by myself than spending time with people that I don't want to spend time with. Does that make sense? I just I'm at a point where I just don't like I where I just don't want to waste my time, I guess. And I don't know if any of you guys can relate to that. And I'm also at the point too where I've just been doing so much inner work and learning so much about myself that surface level connections drain me in a way. They don't make me feel good. They don't bring anything into my space. They don't make me feel excited or I don't know. Like it's like I just would rather not, I guess. Hold on one second. Um sorry. But yeah, I say all of this to say I think that for me what helps me through those times where I'm like, "Oh, I'm single and this isn't fun," because we all, I mean, at least for me, I can't speak for everyone. Yes, those feelings do come. I do try and turn towards gratitude when I can. There's this quote by Oprah, like I think she says something about gratitude and it's like gratitude and something can't happen at the same time. So whenever you're feeling sad, whenever you're feeling down, turn towards gratitude and that can immediately lift your frequency. It's a quote like that. I'll try and find it for you guys and like post it on Instagram or something, but it's something around that and it's something that honestly I try to think about when I'm kind of not feeling so great about my situation, but at the same time, sometimes I wonder if we're put in these situations of isolation and being single, again, to just really help us grow into the person that we need to be so that when we're in the relationship, right, we're not falling back into old patterns and whatnot. Because, friends, I just think about so many men who were walking red flags that I was just kind of like, oh, yeah, this is fine. Oh, or like just giving them the benefit of the doubt or just basically, I wouldn't say letting them walk all over me, but I just didn't stand up for myself, I guess, in some situations where I feel like I could have. And I think it was just because I was so excited to like be in a relationship or I don't know, just like have a guy or whatever. And I feel like I'm just not like that anymore. Now I know my worth and I'm not settling for anything or anyone, okay? It's not gonna happen. Sometimes I wonder if that's what kind of makes it I wouldn't say harder to date in your 30s, because I do know there are so many people in their 30s finding love and finding the relationships and whatnot, but I do think when you're more open to the BS, of course you're gonna have all these men around and whatever, but when you know your worth and you refuse to settle, I think sometimes it makes the pool a little bit smaller. Sahara Jasmine says, yes, something I've reflected on lately is the fact that I hated my first career and was making minimal money. My long season of singleness encouraged me to find a career I love and making good money. I love that. I love that so much. And I also think that you never know you never know what a season can bring. And as I was reading that message, I was also just thinking redirection is protection. And it can also just, again, guide you into maybe like what you're supposed to be doing. Because actually, something that I also just thought about is if I were to have stayed in some of the relationships that I was in my 20s, I don't think that I would have ever moved around and experienced all the things I experienced, right? Because what was a guy going to follow me to all the different places I wanted to live in? I'm not sure, because I mean, when I was in San Francisco for a bit, I was dating this guy oh my God, San Francisco was a hot mess. That was like my early 20s. But when I was living in San Francisco, I remember I was dating this one guy, then wasn't super into him, then did long distance with the guy who was living in Boston. Then I ended up moving to Boston. Then when I was in Boston, I was like, this isn't it. Moved to New York City. Okay. Then when I was in New York City, and it's funny, I feel like, and I don't want to say always because I'm not trying to manifest it, but in the past, I've gotten into these situationships at the end of me or at the end of me, like as I was gearing up to leave a city, let's say. Because when I was living in New York City, I was starting to date this guy, but then I moved to Paris, So that's something else that I think about a lot is I am so grateful for the experiences that I've had in my life and how I've moved and made friends in all of these different places and now just have this global community and like friends all over the world. And I'm not sure if I would have done all of that if I was tied to a guy, unless he wanted to make those moves with me. So even though, yes, being single sometimes can be like, I'm so grateful that I used the past, 10 years or so of my life just exploring and just genuinely doing what it is that I wanted to do without having to worry about anyone else, honestly, and just being able to do my own thing and experience the world and make new friends and work abroad and move to LA and experience life here. It's like, I think for me, I'm at a point where when I do get into a relationship, I'll know that I've done the majority of things that I've wanted to do for me, and I haven't left anything on the table. And to me, that's what's also really important, is just exploring and figuring things out. So I would honestly say to anyone who's single, and I don't know if Asia's on, she's the one that asked the question last week. I would think about, and this is actually something that another influencer said. She said, if you knew that this was your last summer to be single, or your last year to be single, or the last year that you were going to be single, what would you do and how would you operate before you got into a relationship? What are the things you would test out? Where are the cities you might try and spend an extended amount of time? What would you do if you knew this was your last period of time to be single? Because when she said that, it kind of reframed certain things for me, like, oh, I can actually go do so many things and not have to worry about, is this person going to like it, or is it going to be okay with this person? And not to say that you have to ask permission from your partner to do things, but when you are in a relationship, you do have to think about someone else, right? And they have to think about you. So I am honestly, and just even talking about this out loud is healing for me, because I'm not gonna lie, when I sat down to do this live stream, I was kind of like, I don't know really what I'm gonna say because I'm single too. I'm figuring it out too. But I do kind of think that maybe this is just the chance to get out and do everything that we feel called to do before we get into that relationship. Maybe it's the time to try new things and move towards what's exciting and fun and what feels right. Because I also think when we genuinely, I just got a word. I just got a word. I just got a word for us single friends. I do think when you're single, it opens up the door for you to do what you genuinely feel called to do, what you genuinely want to do. And through doing those things, you meet people who are aligned for you. And I feel like it's in doing that that you meet the friends, you meet the partner, you get the relationship, because you're doing things that feel genuine to who you are. And it's something that you guys know me. I talk to the osteopaths, intuitives, all of the things. And she, there was this one session where I think she had told this story. I don't know if it was her or another person, where one thing she loved to do, it's like she was obsessed with like leafy greens and lettuce and things like that, right? Which is it's a random thing, but it's something that she just loved. And whenever she would go to the grocery store, it's like that's the aisle you would find her in. It's like looking for a beautiful piece of lettuce or whatever it was. And she said in doing that, like she met, I don't know if it was her, if it was another person or something. It was either her or another person, but she said in doing that, she started making friends, right? Of other people who were in the aisle doing the same thing that she was doing. And to me, that is such a beautiful way to meet people and know that they're truly aligned for you. When you are in your flow, when you're doing something that you just want to do and feel called to do, and you meet people around that, right? So I would say, and honestly, something that I now want to do, honestly, just again, thinking out loud, is I really want to try and I really want to try and pinpoint what it is that I want, what is it that I want to try out and experience right now as a single girly in her 30s. What are those things that I feel drawn to right now? And just go do them, go try them. Because I think it would be so special to meet someone when you're just doing something that you feel genuinely called to do, versus, well, no, because I'm not going to say one is better than the other. I think that we all just meet people when we're meant to, but I just think that would be so fun to meet someone where it's like you're genuinely doing something that you want to do and they're doing something that they genuinely wanted to do, and you meet and that becomes a thing for the both of you. And it's fun for the both of you because it's what you both felt called to do in that season, right? It also makes me feel like I need more hobbies, maybe. Cause I don't know, friends. Like I've just been in this season of I'm just really at home a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really go out and about that much. I'm kind of over going to the day parties. I I don't know. And it's like summertime and I feel like I should be outside and doing things and having fun. But sometimes I'm just kind of like, I don't really know what I want to do. Like outside of getting an acai bowl or a smoothie or something. Ooh, well, I do really like going to the beach. But I kind of feel like I have to reassess what it is that I like doing in the season of my life because I don't know. I just feel like I haven't really been called to want to do anything or really try anything. And I feel like I need to get clear on what it is that I kind of want to do right now. Cause even like with social media and stuff, like it's fine, but y'all know, like I haven't really been on it as I usually am. And I'm kind of trying to like listen to that. I mean, even with this podcast, it's like these live streams have been fun because I feel like it's something where I can just sit down and talk and share versus the more produced podcasts, which I'm still going to do. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like this has just kind of felt like a easier, more natural way to share right now. And honestly, even just through doing these, I feel like I kind of learn more about what I might want to talk about or share, or even just through the questions that you guys ask me too, So I feel like I'm just in this era of how can I lean more towards what feels in flow and what feels right versus I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to go to the day party because I need to be out and meeting people and it's like no, I don't really feel like going to the day party, so I'm not going to do that. And it's not like a lazy thing either. Cuz I wouldn't call it laziness. I just think I want to do what feels in flow versus doing what feels like, I'm just doing it because I have to, which is kind of what I was talking about a little bit in the last live stream, is that law of least effort. Oh, also for my single girlies, there's this book I started reading called Why Men Love. I don't know if I can say it on YouTube because when I swore in a podcast episode, and I genuinely feel like it dinged my account, but it's why men love. I think you guys caught it. Please go get that book if you are single and navigating being single in the dating scene. It has helped me so much, and it is definitely changing the way that I'm going to date moving forward. Honestly, truly. And it made me realize that I have been approaching dating backwards, I would say, or like, I don't know. Like, I've been, there's a better way to date, is what I'm trying to say. And that book just unlocked a lot for me. A lot. So I would highly recommend that book. I would low key love if we all read it and did like, I don't know, like a Zoom call and like just talked about what it is that we gathered and learned from it. I don't know, like I've been feeling like I just want to do more community-based stuff. It's just hard because I don't want everything to be digital and through the internet and through Zoom and live stream. I would really love to do more in-person things, like a meetup or something. I just don't know how many of you are out in LA. It doesn't seem like a lot of you are, which makes it tough, which makes it feel like sometimes maybe a Zoom or something would be the easiest way to go about it. But I don't know. There are just so many topics and things that I think would be fun to talk about, but I think would be fun to talk about face to face versus this way, even though this way is fun too. But sometimes I feel like sometimes makes me sometimes that's what sometimes makes recording the podcast hard, is because I love interacting with people. And when I'm sitting down recording a podcast, all I'm doing is talking to a camera. I mean, I know that you guys are eventually going to see it, but sometimes I feel like I do better when I'm feeding off of the energy of other people versus just talking. And it's like, even now, like, even though it's kind of just me talking right now or whatever, like knowing that I'm talking to people and not just to myself helps. I don't know. It's just me, but yeah, I've just been wanting to just do more community-based things and be more amongst the people, but also genuine people, feel good people, which I feel like this community does have a lot of that. Which is why I'm always asking, like, drop where you live in the chat and whatnot, because I do want to see how we can do a meetup, like, or something. I just think back to the meetup I did in Paris when I lived there, and that was so much fun. Honestly, I was shook to my core at how many people came too, but that was just so much fun. And I love how like everyone was talking and sharing, and so many people made friends through that experience. And I feel like that's kind of something that I'm missing right now, is just having community, which I think is another great topic for a podcast episode. For sure. I don't know, maybe that's one that I film and like sit down and do. But yeah, this is everything that's been on my mind, on my heart, what I've been thinking about. Honestly, I don't even know if I'm going to save this live stream because I feel like I've been like all over the place, and I feel like I need to like collect and gather my thoughts and actually do a podcast episode around what I want to share, because I feel like I've just been all over the place in this one. But I don't know. There's just been a lot on my mind and on my heart when it comes to being single, navigating loneliness, feeling down, but then wanting to be grateful for this period. It can be a lot. And I also feel like as a whole right now, hey, friend, hey. I noticed a few more people hopped on. So just to kind of reset, hey friends, hey, I'm Tiff, and welcome to That's Real. This podcast is really about just creating the life you want, not the one you were told to live. And what we've been chatting about is navigating being single in your 30s based off of a question that a follower asked last week about around just how do you navigate it? Sometimes, they feel good, sometimes they feel down, and just kind of how do you navigate the ups and downs of all of it? This is meant to be a live Q&A, interactive discussion. For any of you guys that just jumped on, feel free to drop in the chat where you're from, where you're tuning in from. And feel free to ask me anything, even if it's not just about dating. Like, I'm here to help. I'll probably only stay on for another few minutes because your girl has been talking for like 40 minutes. But I've kind of just been talking through, again, just like, how do you navigate these feelings and how do you get through them? Because I don't know, I have a handful of friends, 30s and older, that are single right now. And it's not always easy, but what I was saying earlier, for any of you guys who might have just jumped on, is sometimes I wonder, like, how much of our feeling down about the season has to do with just the image that society shows us around being in a relationship, right? And like, sometimes I wonder if we had more examples of people thriving and being happy and whatnot, being single, if it would change our perspective on what that feels like. At the same time, I do think that as humans, we're wired for connection for sure. But I do think that sometimes there are other ways for us to get that connection we crave. And a lot of time, I mean, and sometimes I think it's also about just being happy in your singleness and moving towards what feels good for you, moving towards what feels exciting for you. And because I do think the more you gravitate towards that, the more you start to meet people while you're doing those things that you genuinely love to do. And how beautiful is that you can meet someone who's also doing something that they genuinely love to do and you bond over that, right? Let's see. Oh, what's this little thing? I've never seen that. What's that little crown thing that says number 1? Okay, let's see. I'm 27 and still single. I have my ups and downs too, especially seeing people getting in relationships, getting married, etc. Ooh, watching from Jamaica. Hey, watching from Florida. Ooh, watching from London. Literally just finished a call with a sister where I talked about being tired of mixed messages from guys and the importance of learning to attend events solo. Ooh, yes. So, okay, let's first talk about seeing people getting in relationships, getting married, etc. So, there's this quote that says comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy. And also, I do sometimes feel like the longer the wait, the greater the blessing. I want you to think about that. And 3, I do genuinely think that when it's your time, it's your time. And your person just might be getting prepared for you, And I think that in those moments, when you see your friends getting married and all of that, just be so, so happy for them and so excited for them because yours could be right around the corner. And I do genuinely think that a joyful heart and an excited heart and a happy heart attracts things quicker than, a heart that's carrying like a lower frequency, I would say. And also something to remember too is, I don't know, I just feel like the person for you will be the person for you. And I do think that when you meet that person, you're gonna be so glad that you met him or her when you did. And I feel like that's what gives me so much peace at times too, is my person's getting prepared for me. Because I don't know about you guys, but I'm at a stage in my life where I refuse to settle. I'm not dealing with the BS anymore. Like, I'm just not. I'm just absolutely not. And if that means I got to wait, that means I got to be patient. I will be. But Yeah, I would say, especially when it comes to this stuff, try not to compare. I know it can be really hard, especially when it's like you feel like everyone around you is getting into relationships and whatnot. But maybe this is your time to figure out what it is that you really want. Focus on the qualities of the person. Earlier, I was talking about how I'm so grateful that I haven't met my person yet and how I'm going to meet him, fingers crossed, in my 30s, because I feel like for the majority of my 20s, I just didn't really know my worth. I wasn't really intentional about dating. I let a lot of things fly. And earlier, I was also talking about how, thank God I haven't met him yet, because I feel like if I had, I feel like if I had met him earlier, we likely would not still be together now, just because I have noticed how much I've evolved and grown over the past like 10 years or so, that I don't even think the same way as I did before. And I don't know, I just feel like I'm in a space where I feel so much more myself. I feel so much more grounded in who I am, that I don't know, like, if I were to have met someone earlier on, I'm not sure if that person would still resonate with me now, if that makes sense. Literally just finished a call with my sister. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, friend. Mixed messages is an absolute no for me. And attending events solo is really fun. I've been attending a lot of things solo, but I also feel like I'm kind of used to it, because in most of the cities I've moved to, I've kind of had to rebuild from the ground up, friendships, community, and whatnot. But with that said, it does open the door for you to meet new people and do things like, honestly, most of the events that I've attended between last year and this year by myself, I've always met someone. You know what I mean? Not really like a romantic connection, not really like a guy that I'm super interested in, but like I've met really cool people who do really cool things. And I do think that when you go to events alone, and just based off of what you really like to do or what you genuinely feel called to do, it also opens the door for people to approach you, because or it also kind of makes you feel, or it also could make you feel a little bit more comfortable just going up to people and talking, because it's kind of like, what do you have to lose? And I only say that because I do think if someone sees someone in a group of people, it's a little bit more intimidating to go up to that group and being like, "Hey." Oh, wait, no, sorry, wait. That's not what I meant to say. I do think that when you go to things solo, it's easier for you to make connections, right? Because you're not just talking to your friend and you're not just kind of in the bubble of the people that you came with. But then on the flip side, and I do think especially when it comes to people that you might be interested in on a romantic level, I feel like they might be more open to coming up to you if you're by yourself, because it's less intimidating. Does that make sense? So yes, attending events solo, yes. Um, Mixed signals, no. I was also earlier talking about this book that I'm reading called Why Men Love. It's a really good book. I highly recommend you get it. You can order it off Amazon. And it's changing the way that I date. It's making me a lot more intentional when it comes to dating. And also, yeah, I feel like in that book, it's basically like mixed messages is a no. And also, I'm now on the side of TikTok where there are a lot of men kind of like sharing. There are a lot of men who are sharing um, just things that women should know as they date men. And one of the things they say is, if a guy's giving you mixed signals, he likely isn't into you, because a man who really likes you won't do that. So I love that. Oh my gosh, 56 and single, never married or have kids, living in Virginia. That is beautiful. And I feel like we need more examples of that, of people who are just living their lives in being happy single. Like, that is a totally okay way to live. And that's why I was saying earlier, it's like sometimes I feel like society just constantly pushes the relationship into our faces, making us feel like that's what we want or need by a certain age. And it's like, but what if that's not what we want? Or what if that's just not the path? Like, or what if that's just not what's meant for us? You know, not everyone has to get married and have kids when they're younger, when they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s. Like it can happen. I genuinely feel like it can happen at any age, you know? And I feel like I feel like the longer you're single, I almost feel like the longer you're single, the more you don't settle for anything. And let me know. That was Kavita. I don't know if that's how you spell your name, but let me know if you feel that way. I'd honestly love to have your perspective. I honestly wish you could hop on this live with me and chat because I think that's such a beautiful thing and we need more examples of that. Because I feel like what's pushed in our faces is, oh, you'll be happy when you're in a relationship. Oh, this is your other half. Oh, blah, 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 blah. But I feel like you can be just as happy if you don't have a partner. And I do wish we had more examples of that. So thank you so much for sharing. Yes, I love what you're saying. I know there's still inner work to do. Friend, yeah. And it's like, I feel like at the end of the day, when it comes to inner work, we're all going to be doing inner work all the time. Like, I feel like we're all going to be a work in progress. I think that doing inner work, it's more of a journey than a destination. You know, I feel like there's always going to be something that we may feel like we need to work on. At least that's how I feel. So it's not to say that you have to be completely healed before you get into a relationship, because it's like, think about it. People get into relationships when they're in high school and whatever, but I just know for me personally, there was a lot that there's a lot that even though I don't think I thought that at the time, now looking back on it, I'm just so grateful that I had the time to really know to really learn myself and feel more comfortable in myself, so that now I just feel a lot more stronger and I can be a little bit more intentional when it comes to dating. At least that's just how I feel looking back at my life and just seeing the evolution of over the years, how much I've changed. And I was also just giving the example of, friendships, right? Like, I don't know about you guys, but for me, a handful of friendships in my life have changed as I've grown and changed, and and as I've grown and changed and as they've grown and changed, and I still have so much love for them, but we might not resonate with each other as well anymore. And that's totally okay. And it kind of made me wonder, wow, like if I were to meet a guy in my people pleasing era or in my low self worth era or in my era where I was just like, oh, does this guy like me versus do I like him? I don't know if we'd still be a fit now if that's what I had been going into the relationship with. And I mean, I do think there are cases where people evolve together and at the same rate. I'm grateful to say that I do have friends in my life who we've kind of been on a similar evolution journey. So that does happen. But yeah, I just know personally for me, my approach to dating in my 20s is very different than my approach to dating now. Ooh, that's a good one. Any tips for going to events alone for someone who has social anxiety? Ooh. One, I'm going to write that question down because I think that's a great question to do a sit down podcast episode on. Hold on. Any tips for going? But I'll also share some that just come to mind now too. Any tips for going to events alone? Any tips? What would I say? What would I share? I think one tip could be, oops, sorry, the the fire truck is throwing me off. Okay, sorry, let me lock in because y'all know I have undiagnosed ADHD and but okay, for going to events alone. One thing that just came to mind is whatever the topic of the event is, I think before you go, maybe think of like 3 different kind of like maybe think of like 3 different topics that you can easily speak on that kind of feed into the topic of the event. So for example, I went to this event not too long ago for the creative ladder and it was all about oh my god, this thing is really throwing me off. And it was all about just helping underrepresented voices thrive in creative careers, right? So, oh my god, now people are texting me. I'm sorry, friends. I get distracted so easily. Um, what was I going to say? So it was all about helping people thrive in creative careers, right? So in that sense, it's like I mean, I didn't do this, but I mean, there could easily be like 1 to 3 topics around that that could feed into a conversation, right? Like, "Oh, what do you think about X?" Or, actually, now that I'm thinking out loud, especially if it's a panel, okay, I need to put my text messages on do not disturb because it's really throwing me off right now, sorry. But especially when it comes to like panels and speaker sessions that you go to, which personally I love to go to, it's like when you are at the event, when you're listening to the panel, I would literally jot down whatever you think is interesting, whatever you personally think is interesting. Forget everyone else, forget trying to make friends or be whatever. Whatever you personally think is interesting from that discussion, from that event, write it down. And that way, when you're networking afterwards, you can kind of open by talking about, oh, I loved when this person said X, right? And kind of feel the other person out because it's like 9 times out of 10, they'll probably think it's interesting too. And that can spark a discussion. And I like doing that. I would really recommend doing it that way too, because if you are genuinely writing down things or paying attention to things that spark interest in you and you're sharing on those things, it's going to be fun for you, right? To talk about. I feel like it'll be less stressful because you're kind of like, oh, wait, this is actually something I'm really interested in learning more about. This is something that I really wanted to talk about. This is something that I actually wanted to dive deeper into. So you'll naturally be a little bit more inquisitive and a little bit more a little bit more at ease maybe talking about it versus you kind of trying to come up with a topic that you think might just spark conversation but you're not really into. I would say focus more on you and what you think is interesting and build conversations off of that versus what you think the other person might like. Ooh, Vanessa says, "Oh no. Someone says I hated being single. Sorry, friend. Genuine interest in the event's topic will lead to conversation." I totally agree. And honestly, I mean, right now I'm just like going off the cuff, but I do think I want to really sit down and gather my thoughts on this because, this is something that I kind of had to get comfortable with. And yeah, it's definitely something that I had to get comfortable with just going to events solo and kind of like talking to people about things and, kind of wanting to have a conversation, but didn't always want it to be based on like, what are you do? Like, what do you do? Like the career question and kind of wanted to just talk about things that were more, because as you guys know, like surface level conversations just really drain me and wanted the discussions to be more centered around things that I'm really interested in. But with that said, and what Vanessa said, it's like I would literally only attend events and things that you genuinely feel interested and feel called to attend because I feel like that'll just make it a little bit easier for you to talk about. Oh no, I just dropped my water. Also, a friend had told me too that when you're at events and stuff, having a drink in your hand, and it doesn't even have to be an alcoholic drink, automatically, or having something in your hand makes you feel a little bit less nervous So have something in your hand, especially if you're kind of like standing up and kind of having to chat with people. I would also encourage you to not just be standing there looking at your phone, because I feel like when we do that, and trust me, I've done it so many times, I feel like it can sometimes come off as standoffish and then maybe people won't come up to you. I would also encourage you to get out of your comfort zone and, like, for example, at that same creative ladder event, I was there was a point where we broke for lunch and I was by myself and I mean, because at first I was like, oh, I could go outside for lunch or oh, I could sit by myself. But I was like, no, I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna go sit with other people and start chatting. And I mean, even just going up to a table of people and simply saying, like, oh, is anyone sitting here? 9 times out of 10, no one's sitting there. And then they'll be like, oh, like, what's your name? Da 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 da. And then it's like sometimes you easily just spark conversation that way too. I hope that helps, but I'm actually gonna I hope that helps. And again, I'm just kind of like sharing what comes to mind right now, but I do want to do an actual episode on that because I do think that's a great question. And I actually do want to sit down and just think about all the times that I went to events and what helped me. Because, sometimes I can't really think on the fly, but I really want to sit down and pinpoint what were things that helped me so that it might help you too. Oh, you have a twin sister? That's so cool. I have a twin sister. We've gone to many things together with Solo being nice too. Friends, I want to know what is this crown thing? Do you guys see this too, where it's like a crown and it says number one, number two? What does that mean? Or is it just me? Okay. I'm like, huh? Oh, an episode would be great. Of course, no problem. I do hope that helped, but yeah, I'm gonna sit down and collect my thoughts on that. It says, oh, top fans. By the way, I am 69 years old. I make sure I'm in a safe space and I make friends in most spaces. A good topic. Ooh, cool. When you say you make sure you're in a safe space, what do you mean? Like a safe space, like emotionally? Give us all the advice, Vanessa. We're here. Oh, you guys see it too? Perhaps the order of comments? Yeah, maybe. I've never seen that before. That's like a new thing, maybe for live streams. Oh, got it. Maybe that's what it is. So I was like, huh, what is going on? I was like, what is going on? Yeah, maybe it's that. Yeah, but I mean, I do. But what was I going to say? I do think it's kind of nice that a handful of us are kind of in this era of wanting to build community, make new friends, find a man or a woman, find our partner. I think it's a really beautiful place to be in. And I would also urge you to feel empowered by the experience versus drowned by it. I'm kind of trying to make that mental shift too, where it's like, I can walk into a room alone and feel empowered and good and excited to be there and meet new people. Do you know how many people truly can't do that? I mean, and I don't know. I think because I've just been thrown into the situation so many times, like there have been so many times where I just had to do things alone that I didn't really have a choice. And I think that also helped me build my muscle. But if you can just get a hold of it, like you are unstoppable. If you can walk into a room, if you can eat alone, go to the movies by yourself, like to me that is so empowering. And I also think that the more comfortable you get doing it alone, the more you actually attract what it is or who it is that you want, right? Because, and actually, something that the book says, you know what? Let me get the book. Hold on one second, because there are a lot of tidbits in the book that are so good. And I literally just spilled water all over my rug. Yo, this book is like my holy grail right now. If honestly, if any of you guys want to read it, let me know, because I don't know, maybe we need to do something around it. But literally, so basically in this book there are different attraction principles. And the first attraction principle says anything a person chases in life runs away. So I really feel like it's just being comfortable in our solitude. So comfortable in our solitude that we fill ourselves up with all that it is that we want, and that's what attracts it to us. It's actually something that I think I said in another live stream, the last live stream, where my osteopath has been sharing that whatever it is that you want on the outside or in the physical, give it to yourself first. Because if you give it to yourself first, all that God, universe can mirror back to you is that, because you already have it. A safe space to return home. A safe space to return home from afterwards. Do you have an episode on building confidence or what you learned in your 20s? Ooh, I don't have an episode on that, but I could create one. Let me write that down too. Yeah, honestly, any episode ideas you guys have or any advice you need, please drop it in the chat, because I'm more than happy to share and create episodes around building confidence. So it's about building confidence in your 20s. And I will give you one piece of advice about that is, I'll give you one piece of advice about building confidence is it's really important to remember that no one really knows what they're doing. And I say this in the best way possible. Everyone is trying to figure it out. And I think, especially in my 20s, I don't know about you, but I always kind of felt that everyone else had it figured out and I didn't. And I think that's what made me feel less than and whatnot. But as you get older, you realize that everyone is just trying to navigate life in the best way that they can. Everyone is just trying. You meet people you connect with, you meet people that you really don't. But honestly, everyone is just trying. I don't care if you are the CEO of a company, if you are a billionaire, whatever. Everyone is trying to figure out. There is not one person walking on this earth that knows everything. Not one person. And that kind of made me feel a little bit better, at least kind of growing and learning that we're all just trying. We're all just trying. But that's a great episode topic for sure. I learned to do things alone and I'm okay with that. It was hard at first, but I didn't want to not enjoy going out and enjoying life due to not having anyone to hang with. I completely agree. Like, there's no reason why anyone should have to miss out on the things that they want to do just because they don't have someone to go with. I completely agree with that for sure. I think what I'm trying to I think sometimes what I struggle with and what I'm trying to break the cycle of is I think I've just gotten to the point where I will be so like I get so comfortable just sitting at home watching a bunch like binge watching Love Island that I'm fine doing that versus going out and doing something else. I feel like I've really just become a homebody. So sometimes it's nice when a friend is like, Tiff, like, let's go do this. Like, actually, one of my best friends is in town with her nephews, and I was just with them yesterday, which was really fun. I'll probably hang with them today too. So I think for me, sometimes it's just getting out of my bubble and remembering to kind of go outside. I also think that kind of happens when you, oh my God, everyone trying to call you a girl right now. Hold on one second. One second. What was I gonna say? Dang, now I just lost my train of thought. Oh, I was saying that I fell into this pattern of just wanting to stay home a lot just because I feel comfortable and I just want to watch my shows and whatnot. So I'm finding myself really having to break that cycle. And lately there hasn't been a lot that I feel excited to do either, where I'm kind of like, oh, I really want to go see this or do that. I'm kind of like, I'm fine. And I'm really trying to get myself out of that mentality because I cannot stay in this house or in this apartment all day, every day. So I feel like, if anything, that's something that I'm trying to get out of. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to that. And sometimes it is nice when you have a friend or someone who's like, girl, let's go do this. And like it was really fun. Like last week, my friend was like, let's go to dinner, let's do something. And it was fun. So I feel like for me, though, it's just getting out of my bubble sometimes is what I need to do. Like I do have my phases where I want to go out and do things, and I have my phases where I really don't. And it's like the summertime, and I want to enjoy the beautiful weather and do things. But I don't know. I've just been kind of wanting to stay home and watch my show. Okay, same. Maybe I need to do an episode for the homebodies so that we can all motivate each other to get outside and do things. Even if it's just going to the beach and reading a book. Like I love going to the beach. I really do, and I feel like that's something I could start to do a little bit more of, but yeah, like friends honestly, and I think because I work remotely too, it's like most weeks I'm literally just home or at the gym or going grocery shopping. And yeah, I need to go. I need to get out more. I really do. Okay, cool. Maybe I'll do an episode on that. Let me write that down. Wow, you guys are really giving me all the episode topics today. Um what was it? It was, hey Nicole. Hey, hey, hey. Bye, Becca. Thanks for tuning in. I know it's always tough for me to like find a time that like works for both people in Europe and people here, but appreciate you tuning in. And the question was maybe it's like how to stop being a homebody. Maybe it's something like that. Cool. Okay. Wait, are these all the topics you guys wanted for episodes? So, tips on going to events alone, advice about building confidence in your 30s, how to stop being a homebody. I think those were the three. And then I will probably do a sit down episode on navigating being single. That's four good episode topics. Thanks, friends. Do you think that living in Paris, the noise pollution, the sound pollution, and all the overcrowding has led you to being a homebody? Cheers for being an inspiration. Oh, thanks, Felix. Um, ooh, a pickleball team. That's so fun. Sometimes I'm like, would I ever get into playing volleyball again? I used to play volleyball in high school and I loved it. But the thing is, I wasn't Olympian level or anything. And I know some people are very competitive. I would just want to play for fun and I'm not trying to get hurt. So, but anyways, do I think that living in Paris? I mean, I don't think it was that because I lived in oh, I was like, what's that noise? I don't think it was necessarily all of that in Paris that caused me to be a homebody because I lived in New York City too. And I kind of feel like it was similar, I guess, in a way. But I think sometimes it just comes with growing out of certain phases and stages of your life. Because when I was in my 20s, I was going out everywhere. Oh my God, in college, I was going out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like I was doing all the things. Part of me feels like I'm just like worn out by doing all of that in a way. And I'm not gonna lie, I also think that, and I don't even know if I can say this word. It's not a bad word, but I feel like whenever I say it on YouTube, I get dinged. But I also feel like going through that era of time that we all went through when we were all locked in or locked down, I also think that changed a lot for me where afterwards I kind of just stopped going out as much because I think I just got so used to being in the house all of the time, if that makes sense. So sometimes I feel like I have to retrain my body to be out more, to be in social settings more, because I don't know about you guys, but as we were coming out of that time period, honestly, when I would go out, I would have the worst anxiety just doing normal things. I remember there was this time in Paris where they had opened things back up for a little bit, and I went down to the Saint Lazare area, which is like big shopping area, all of this stuff. And I was so anxious, just moving through the crowds and interacting with people. And I really think it was because I had just been inside for so long, and I just wasn't used to being out and about as much. And I mean, low key friends since then, honestly, since Paris, I haven't really been out and about consistently like that because when I moved from Paris, I, yeah, because when I moved from Paris, I mean, I was living at home with my parents for a little bit. Ooh, that could also be another good episode. I was living at home with my parents for a little bit. I had a remote job, and honestly, I don't have friends really in Boston. I mean, outside of my sister and her wife, and my bestie was living there, but she just moved. She's now living in Arizona. I didn't really have a reason to go out. I was always just kind of like with my parents. So I feel like honestly, the last time I was out pretty consistently was probably maybe my first 2 years in Paris. That was a long time ago. And I feel like sometimes our bodies just get conditioned to operate a certain way. So for me personally, I think because I've just been at home because that's just been my situation, I just got really used to it. So yeah, I kind of feel like I need to retrain myself to be outside, to explore more, to be out amongst people and do all the things cuz I've just gotten so comfortable with not having to do that, I guess. I wish I lived in New York. I'm in a small town for school right now, and there's not much here. Oh, where are you in school? And friend, I get it because I grew up in a very small town, and literally all there was to do was go to the movies, go to a restaurant. Like if I really wanted to do something, we had to like drive, excuse me, into Boston, which was a little bit of a trek, but yeah. So yeah, I think it's just been more of the situations that I've been in that have caused me to be a homebody, as well as just growing out of certain eras of my life. Doesn't mean I won't party when I feel like I want to, but yeah, I kind of think that's what happened with me. But anyways, friends, um, for medical school, go you. That's so awesome. I want to move to a big city after this for sure. I'm originally from Miami. Wow, that's so cool. Go, friend, go. Love that you're in medical school. Friend, follow your heart. If you want to move to a big city afterwards, make it happen. And sometimes I feel like being in a small town, having that experience is what pushed me to want to explore cities and do all of that. So you never know. I feel like everything kind of like sets us up for what we're eventually meant to be doing. Nicole says, Tiffany, do you think you will stay in LA? How are you liking it? I'll say this. LA has been fine for now. Like, it's not like I'm obsessed with it. It's also not like I hate it. But, and at the same time, I'm just not sure where else I would want to live at this point of time. I think it's fine for now. Do I think it's my forever place? I'm still not 1,000% sure. Kind of just enjoying the weather, enjoying that I can find food because you guys know I have so many intolerances and it's a lot easier to find food that sits well with me here versus other places for sure. I'm really not 1,000% sure if it's my forever place, but I do like that I do like that here I'm a closer to nature. Like I can go on hikes. It was really fun when my sister came down. Me, her, and her wife, we drove up to Joshua Tree, and that was so much fun. I love that I can do stuff like that. I love that I can get my smoothies and my acai bowls and all of the things. I do really like having a car. I think I've outgrown my subway era. Not to say, I mean, I will visit those places and take the subway. That's fine. But I just like being able to jump in my car and getting to where I want to go. So there are things about LA that I do appreciate and that I do like. Building community here hasn't been the easiest, but I was just talking to a friend who has been living here for like 13 years and we were kind of just catching up and she was saying that it takes a good 4 years to kind of really just start to feel settled and like you're building here. So I don't know, I guess we'll see. So yeah, I'm not 1,000% sure if I'll stay here forever, but it's fine for now. Kavita says, I enjoy my singleness at 56, but I do desire marriage. It's hard meeting single people who are my age. Men my age want the younger ladies, or they tend to play games. Ugh, I'm so sorry. So sorry that like that's the reality. And it's so interesting though, because what you're saying, I also kind of feel like is what a lot of us are experiencing too. And I guess Kavita too, for you, are you on the apps? Like kind of how do you envision meeting your person? Do you want to meet them out and about? Are you open to apps? Are you open? Oh my gosh, friends, like one time I went speed dating. I don't know if I ever told you that. I went speed dating. Not last year, but the year before, I think. Was it the year before? That was an experience. I almost feel like maybe the conversation is how do we get out and start to meet people? You know? Oh my God, what? Too nervous for speed dating? Well, okay. It's actually, I'll say this. It's fun when you do it with a friend. And the way that the speed dating I went to was set up, so it was at this restaurant and you started at one table. How did they do it? Sorry, hold on. I'm trying to remember how they did it. It was at a restaurant. And the way you did it is you kind of the women moved around to the different tables and the men stayed. So Or no, or did everyone move around? Hold on. I'm trying to remember how they did it. I just remember being at a restaurant and every time the bell rang, I had to go to a different table and meet a different guy. And I met maybe 15 to 20 guys. It was a lot, not gonna lie. And it was actually exhausting to the point where midway through, my friend and I were like, we kind of want to leave just because we're tired of introducing ourselves to so many people. But we didn't want to leave because we knew if we left, then someone would be without a partner for one of the rounds. It was interesting. I will say none of the men were really my cup of tea. And the way that it worked was as you went around meeting the different people, you checked off who you wanted to stay in touch with. And then at the end, whoever you wanted to stay in touch with, you emailed their name to the organizer, and then the organizer sent you an email with the email addresses of everyone who wanted to stay in touch with you. So I actually didn't want to stay in touch with anyone. I didn't really feel a strong connection with anyone, but I got an email that I think 7 or 8 people wanted to stay in touch with me and gave me their emails, but I had never reached out. Friends, it was kind of a hot mess. I wouldn't say I had a conversation that blew my mind, but for instance, I just feel like I was just in a different headspace, I guess, than other people, just in terms of little things. Like, I mean, for those of you guys who have been following me, you know that I like to travel and do all the things. And one question I asked one of the guys was, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you want to go? If you go anywhere in the world, where would you want to go? This man said Vermont. I'm not saying Vermont is a bad place, but I was kind of like, you could literally go to Vermont tomorrow. Like, I don't know. It just, people just weren't seeming as adventurous as I think I am. So that was kind of tough. Friends, one man farted. Okay. I was like, dang, you couldn't clench that for 5 minutes. Okay. Because we're only meeting with these people for like 5 minutes. One man farted. One man was talking to me and he spit and it landed on my lip and I was over it. Okay. That was a lot. One man was kind of interesting. There was one guy who had moved to LA from where was that guy from? Somewhere in Europe. Not Paris or London, or where was he from? I can't remember. But I remember thinking that his story was interesting, but I wasn't like super into him. Would I do speed dating again? Maybe if I was the one sitting down and the guys rotated, because it was a lot. It was a lot. And by the time I left, I was exhausted. But it was an experience and I'm glad I did it just to try. Yeah, friends. Like I was like, this is a lot. There were some men who were sweet. I will say most of the men there were respectful. I would say I'm trying to think if there was anyone who I was kind of like ew over. Um, yeah, it was just I will say it really did build my confidence though. So sometimes it's fun to just do those things to kind of get a little confidence boost. But yeah, none of them were my type of guy. Felix says, I don't agree with that statement. Are you talking about Kavita's statement? I'm not sure. As a single Black man in my 40s with a PhD from Cambridge, okay, pop off. I am finding that Black women are playing games. Most of my friends say the exact same thing. Oh, interesting. And I mean, to that statement, I feel like when it comes to dating, it's really hard to just generalize. Like I feel like dating and meeting people, it's situational. I don't think we can say all men are like this or all men are like that, but I do think that we can share based off of our experiences. So, for example, I think what Kavita is saying is just based off of her personal experience, and what you're saying is just based off of your personal experience. I don't think it really means that every single person, every single man, or every single woman is like that. But again, I think we all we know and all we have to base things off of is our experiences, right? And I don't know. I do think overall, our people are out there. I do think divine timing is everything. I also do think that sometimes it is looking at ourselves and kind of figuring out, is there anything that I need to shift within myself to kind of attract the right person? Because I know for sure there was a lot that I needed to shift within myself. So yeah, I feel like that's kind of what I would say to that, but open to what you guys think about that too. Nicole says, I heard dating in LA for Black women is tough, but I think it's just tough, period, everywhere. You know, it's funny because I was hearing that too when I first moved here. There were a lot of like girlies that I met who were kind of like, girl, like I've been living here for 10 years and I've gone on like 2 dates. But at the same time, to your point, Nicole, I feel like people across the board are experiencing that because I have friends. I have a really good friend who lives in Texas. I'm trying to think, where are my single friends right now? I have a friend who lives in single friend in Texas. Oh no, she lives in Berlin and she's in a relationship now. Single friends in New York, single friends in LA. Where else? Single friends in Paris, single friend in Florida, although I think she might be seeing someone now. But anyways, I say all of this to say I think across the board people are feeling it, and I kind of want to do some research on, because a while ago, this must have been a year or two ago, I was seeing stuff about like the loneliness epidemic that people were talking about, because collectively I do think that in this era of life people are a bit lonelier than we have been before, and I think there are actually stats on that. I don't know if it's because of social media or whatnot, but I do think that people nowadays are just a lot lonelier or have a harder time finding connection than they did in the past. Again, I don't know if it's because of dating apps or what, but I do think it's a thing. And I kind of want to look a little bit into it more, and maybe I add that to the dating episode that I want to do. Um, Hold on. Being lonely. But I also can't pinpoint like exactly when that started. Like, when did this whole loneliness epidemic start? Because I feel like a lot of people are feeling it and feeling it hard. I mean, I know that I've had ups and downs with it, 1000% for sure. You know, I don't know if it's again that time when we were all locked down that it really started. I don't know. But I kind of want to do more research into it because it does kind of feel like we're a bit more disconnected in the physical than we have been in the past. And again, I mean, I do know that a lot of people are online more, on social media more, and like that's kind of become just a way of interacting socially. I don't know if there's a study on this, but I remember seeing something around how there are younger kids now who will get together and hang out and they're all on their phones scrolling. So it almost just seems like we're all just craving more physical human interaction outside of just being on our phones, being on Zooms and whatnot. I also think with and I don't know how many of you guys work remotely, but I do kind of also think that with remote work, it's also kind of caused some of us to detach from, again, those physical interactions. Because I've now technically have been working remote since 2020. Friends, that's like 5 years that I have not had to go into a physical office. And I think that's definitely changed the way that I interact, or also contributes to me being at home more than I usually am, you know? So I wonder if it's that too, remote work, social media, internet popping off, all the things that have caused us just to feel a bit more disconnected than we have in the past. And I think it's also why I've been really wanting to try to find more community in the physical. Because I do remember in New York City, friend, I was going out all the time after work. I didn't care. Like I wasn't as tired after work. I always wanted to go out and see my friends. And now I just, if I really want to do something, sure, I'll do it. But it's not like I have to or I really want to all the time, you know? Like I'm kind of just a bit more okay with being at home. I believe it's correlated to technology. I remember when we had no choice but to be alone or hang out in person because the technology didn't exist to be connected without being physically present. Ooh, that is a good point. That's a good point. That's so true because now I can sit on FaceTime with my friend for hours and that's kind of my social interaction for the day versus before we had FaceTime, before we had all of that, you had to talk to someone in person. Hmm. Well, friends, what do we do about that? What do we do about that? Because I feel like for me, it's also wanting to gather in person with people who are like minded, like not just anyone, you know? But I do think that point about technology is a really good point. And when you hang out in person, you're not just interacting with that person, you're interacting with the cashier at the venue, gas station, etc. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I know, wow, life is so different. I mean, I'm honestly so grateful that I grew up before the social media boom, that I had the experience of just having to play outside versus playing on my phone all the time. Like, I'm so grateful that I know that world and that life. Because sometimes I worry about the younger generation. Vanessa says she's happy when she's at home, happy when she's out. It's workable. Cool. That's great. And I mean, I would kind of say the same. I mean, if I'm doing something that I enjoy, whether I'm at home or I'm out, I'm cool. I think it's just those situations where, like, for example, I went to this day party not too long ago and it was fine. But the whole time I was kind of like, I'm not really getting what I wanted to get out of this experience. So I would have been fine staying at home. So I feel like for me, it's situational. I don't think it's that I like one over the other. I just think it depends on like what the experience is, if that makes sense. I'm also loving this top fan thing. It's actually kind of cool that you can see. And it's interesting. It like gives people points. I wonder what the points are based off of and like when this all started. And it's also kind of why I sometimes like doing live streams more because it's like I actually get to interact with you. And and yes, I get to interact with you too when I post an actual episode, but it's just a little bit different because it's more so interacting through the comments versus being able to respond to you guys in real time, you know? Have you built a community since being in LA and do you think it fulfills your needs? So this is actually something I was probably talking about this before you hopped on, but I was just talking about how I have friends here and there, but in terms of a real solid community, no, not yet. And I've been here for maybe 2.5 years, I would say. And again, it just goes back to kind of wanting to be around like-minded people. I know personally I do need to get out more and get out of my bubble of staying home. I do go to events every now and then solo, which has been fun. And I have met some really cool people that I'll hang out from time to time. I'll hang out with from time to time, but in terms of having that consistent group that you do everything with, that you hang out with, go to dinners with, I don't really have that. And it's interesting because from friends that I talk to, they don't really have that either. And I don't know if it's a matter of just as you get older, things change or whatnot, or maybe I just haven't found those people yet. But I don't really feel like I have that here. I don't. And I feel like that also contributes to me kind of just staying at home, if that makes sense. But I am really open to building that and I would love to build it. I just feel like it's just not here yet. Oh, you live in LA? Do you live in LA? Christian Jane? I love LA, but it's hard in part because it's so spread out and it takes so much energy to drive park. It's best if your people live in your neighborhood. Oh my gosh, I completely agree. And I completely agree because I mean, one of my soul sisters here, she lives in the valley. And it almost feels like we're in a long distance friendship because she doesn't live in my area. So usually we're having these like long, great phone calls, but we don't always see each other in person, but we are really close. But we do hang out from time to time. But again, it's like we're not in each other's like super close proximity. So we don't always hang out. I do agree with that. I think because LA is so spread out, it's easier to sometimes have friends in your neighborhood so that you can do those things, take walks together, go to the grocery store together, home goods, whatever it is. I feel like it makes doing things like that a lot easier when people are closer to you versus dang, I got to drive 45 minutes to see my friend, right? Just even thinking about that sounds draining. Oh, you live in New York City. Okay. But you're in LA like 5 to 6 times a year. If I didn't live here, it would be LA. I've been flirting with the idea of moving for years. Oh, interesting. Cool. You never know. Maybe you'll end up being an LA girly like me. I really do wish more of this community was in LA so that we could do a meetup, but it still may be worth doing a meetup with the people who are here. Or eventually, if I make it a bigger thing and like share it with you guys in advance, whoever wants to come down for it, that could be cool. Everyone calls you a California girl. That's so funny. Everyone thinks I'm from California, and I'm obviously not. I do feel like I fit in with the vibe here, but I don't know. We'll see if it's my forever place. Would you ever do a closet tour? Hey, Royce. Would you ever do a closet? What's a closet tour? Oh, like a tour of my closet, like my my actual closet, like behind me? Is that what you're talking about? I mean, I wouldn't mind. My closet's like a mess though. I don't know what y'all would want to see. If I'm being honest with you guys, I hate everything in my closet right now and need a wardrobe refresh. Maybe that could be a fun thing to do for another live stream. Do you guys really want to see my closet? I don't mind showing it, but I just don't think it's the most exciting thing. But maybe it's interesting for you, but I don't know. My entire wardrobe needs an upgrade and I've really been trying to go shopping, but I haven't been seeing anything that I like in stores. But yeah, I'd be open to it. You do. You felt very Parisian while in Paris, but you feel very LA now. I guess you adapt well to the area. You know what? That's a really good point, and something that my cousin has always said to me is that I continue to reinvent myself. And I kind of think that I do without fully realizing it, maybe. Because I do agree. I feel like when I was in Paris, I was very that aesthetic, and now I'm very this LA aesthetic. Any French pieces that I still have from Paris? Yes. I can show you guys that. Do you guys want to see some of the pieces I still have from Paris? I don't mind showing. Let's see. Like this jacket from Claudie Pierlot. I got it during the Paris Solds. She's still in great shape. The Paris Solds are when you get everything at discount, even like luxury shopping goes on sale. So this is a cute little number. It still fits. It's just not really my style right now. Like I feel like I'm more, like the oversized denim look. Hold on, I want my top to fall down. Like she still fits, but I just feel like she's not my style right now, What else do I have from Paris? And you mean like that I actually purchased in Paris, right? I'm guessing. Also, I just realized I don't even have this up all the way. The sales are usually, I think it's July. Oh, no, I think it's like June, July. What else do I have from Paris? This is like my go-to top for going out. Like I'll wear it with like boots. It's just like a little oversized thing. I actually got this from Zara. I do think that Zara is better in Europe than it is in the United States. This baby has lasted me through and through. What else do I have from Paris? Oh, this is also from Zara in Paris. I also feel like the pieces from Zara that I've gotten in Paris hold up a lot better than the pieces I have that I've got here. This little number, I think she's so Paris. I got her from And Other Stories. Honestly, most of my And Other Stories sweaters I got in Paris. This one too. Ooh. This is so funny that I'm showing you guys this stuff. What else do I have from Paris? Oh, these little flats. I think these are so cute. These boots, also from And Other Stories. Oh, this I actually got in Berlin. The skirt. Ooh, now everything's falling out the closet. That's all that comes to mind. I'll have to like really do a run through. Oh, this I actually got from a UK brand. Also, one second, it's getting kind of hot in here. And then My Prada bag that you guys probably always see me with, I can't find it right now. Oh, I got this in Paris. My Louis Vuitton belt bag. I love her. I got her in Paris. And my favorite, I splurged on these, but my Chanel dad sandals, they're so freaking cute. They have like the Chanel, it's like black on black. And then my Prada bag. Because y'all know if you buy luxury in France, it ends up being less expensive than if you buy it in the United States. Oh my God, I can't believe I've been on this thing for like 2 hours. But I have fun doing this. Yeah, visit Europe. Thanks, friends. I'm glad that you approve of my Paris purchases. What's your favorite holiday and why? Also, thank you again for your support last week. Of course, Royce. I hope everything's been going okay. Do you have an update for us? My favorite holiday? My favorite holiday. Oh my gosh, I'm like, I don't even know what my favorite holiday is anymore. Maybe Christmas because I always go home and I get to see my family. That's a fun holiday. But actually, thank you for this question because I feel like I need to get more, not need, because I'm trying to stop saying need, but I do want to get more back into celebrating holidays. When I was living abroad, I kind of feel that I stopped celebrating a lot of holidays just because I was always just by myself. And I feel like I have to get back into it and just have fun with stuff. Ooh, Valentine's Day and New Year's, fun. Same. I've been single most Valentine's Day, except one when I lived in Paris. Christian Jane said, better not be today. Amen, sister. And no, it is definitely not today. Roy says, no update, but you gave me a lot to think about and consider, and I'm grateful for you and this community to provide support and advice. I really appreciate it. Oh, Royce. Anytime. You are like the sweetest human. Happy to help, honestly. I love chatting with you guys and helping how I can. You're so sweet. And I do really wish you the best with everything you're going through. I know it's not easy. Right. That was a good one, Christian Jane. Anyways, friends, if there aren't any more questions, I think I'm going to hop off because I've been on for 2 hours. And you guys have given me a lot to think about just in terms of new episodes I want to bring you that are actually sit down and me recording and whatnot. So thank you, thank you, thank you for that. Also, I got blown up during this live stream. Everyone was calling me. So I have a lot of phone calls to return. Oh no, you just got here. Well, if you have a quick question you want to ask, I'm happy to sit and chat for another like 5 minutes or so. Oh my gosh. Kat, Katja. Am I saying your name right? Well, I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for tuning into the live. Oh my gosh, so many first timers for the live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love chatting with you guys. I really want to do it more. I'm thinking of maybe doing lives weekly if I can like fit it into my schedule. I think sometimes it's just figuring out the right timing because I know that there are a handful of you guys abroad and in different time zones, and I know LA is usually really far behind a lot of other places, but kind of trying to figure out the best way to do it. But I love chatting with you guys. Like, this is really so fun. And if you guys like them, I'd love to do them more. Katya, Katya, like that? Katya. Aw, thanks, Vanessa. So glad you tuned in. Okay, awesome. Katya. Gotcha, girl. Gotcha. Yes, I've been watching you since Paris Days. It's inspired me to end the American chapter of my life this year temporarily. Wow, that's amazing. Where are you off to? Okay, cool. Livla said cool. Sounds good. Definitely join next time. Well, friends, it's been real. This was so fun. And I'll catch you probably next week. But also, I'm going to really try to get my behind to record some sit down podcasts because I've just been hopping on these lives, which has been fun. But I also want to give you the proper content. So love you guys. This is so fun. This was so fun. And I'm excited to chat again soon. Bye.